What if the very excitement you feel about your dreams is actually keeping them away from you? Most people believe they must stay emotionally high, endlessly motivated, and intensely excited in order to change their reality. They chase signs, force positive thinking, and wait for emotional confirmation that something is happening. But the truth is far simpler and far more powerful. The things that truly belong to you do not make you anxious. They do not make you desperate. They feel natural. The moment your desire stops feeling distant and starts feeling normal within you, everything begins to shift. Because reality does not respond to what you want occasionally. It responds to what feels real to you consistently. In this speech, you are going to discover why calm certainty is more powerful than emotional excitement, why peace is the real sign of inner transformation, and how becoming inwardly familiar with your desire can completely change the world around you. One of the biggest misunderstandings people have when trying to change their life is believing that excitement means they truly believe in their desire. They think that if they feel emotionally overwhelmed, highly energized, or intensely motivated, then they must be aligned with what they want. But excitement and belief are not the same thing. In fact, excitement can sometimes reveal the opposite. It can reveal that the desire still feels distant, rare, or separate from you. Think about the things you already fully accept as part of your life. You are not emotionally overwhelmed that your name belongs to you. You are not excited every morning that you live in your home or wear the same face. These things feel natural. They feel familiar. There is no emotional struggle around them because your mind has already accepted them as facts. That quiet acceptance is true belief. When something is truly believed internally, it creates calmness, not emotional chaos. The mind relaxes because it no longer feels uncertain. But when people become overly excited about a desire, they often place it on a pedestal. They react to it as though it is extraordinary, difficult to obtain, or far away from their current identity. The excitement may feel positive, but underneath it there is usually separation. This is why many people move in emotional cycles. One day they feel highly excited about their future, convinced that everything is finally changing. The next day they feel discouraged because nothing in the outer world has changed yet. Their emotional state rises and falls depending on appearances. Why? Because their belief is not stable. They are emotionally reacting to possibilities instead of inwardly accepting reality. Real belief does not constantly look for reassurance. It does not beg for signs. It does not panic when results are delayed. True belief feels steady. It feels grounded. It feels normal. Imagine a person who constantly says, "I'm so excited this might happen for me." Hidden inside that statement is doubt. The word might reveals uncertainty. But a person who quietly says, "Of course, this is part of my life," carries a completely different energy. There is no emotional desperation in their state. There is calm possession. Many people are addicted to emotional highs because excitement temporarily makes them feel close to their desire. But emotional intensity is not the same as embodiment. You can feel excited for a moment and still deeply believe that your dream is impossible. What changes reality is not temporary emotion. It is consistent identification. This is why some people visualize for years without results. They keep imagining their future while emotionally reacting to it as something unbelievable. Every time they become overwhelmed with excitement, they unintentionally remind themselves that the desire still feels outside of them. They are admiring it instead of owning it internally. The goal is not to emotionally worship the desire. The goal is to normalize it within yourself. When your desired reality begins to feel ordinary in your mind, something powerful happens. You stop trying so hard. You stop forcing positive thoughts every second. You stop obsessively checking for movement. You become emotionally stable because inwardly you already accepted the experience as yours. That calmness is not boredom, it is conviction. There is a huge difference between someone hoping something happens and someone internally knowing it is already theirs. Hope still waits. Belief rests. Hope asks for proof. Belief no longer needs constant confirmation. This is why peaceful certainty is more powerful than emotional excitement. A calm mind can hold a state consistently. An emotionally frantic mind cannot. When people are too excited, they often become impatient. They start wondering when it will happen, how it will happen, or whether they are doing enough. But when something feels natural, the pressure disappears. Think about planting a seed in the ground. Once planted, you do not scream at the soil every day demanding immediate proof. You trust the unseen process because you know the seed contains life already. In the same way, real belief is quiet trust. It is inner acceptance without constant emotional reaction. The outer world always reflects the state that feels most natural to you. If struggle feels natural, struggle repeats itself. If doubt feels natural, doubt keeps appearing. But if success, love, abundance, or confidence begin to feel normal within you, your reality slowly reorganizes around that inner assumption. So stop measuring your progress by how emotionally excited you feel. Excitement comes and goes. Belief remains steady. Emotional highs fade quickly, but a deeply accepted identity stays rooted within the mind. The most powerful transformation happens when your desire no longer shocks you, when it no longer feels too good to be true, when it becomes emotionally neutral in the best possible way. That is the moment it starts becoming real to your subconscious mind. You are not trying to force miracles into your life. You are trying to become inwardly familiar with a new reality until it feels completely natural. And the moment it feels natural, you stop chasing it, because inwardly you already know it belongs to you. Most people believe that changing their life requires struggle, force, or endless emotional intensity. They think they must constantly stay positive, repeat affirmations every minute, or maintain overwhelming excitement in order to manifest what they desire. But the real secret is much simpler than that. The true power lies in naturalness. What feels natural to you becomes your reality. This is the principle most people overlook. The mind does not create based on what you occasionally wish for. It creates based on what feels normal, familiar, and believable to your inner self. Whatever state feels natural to you will continue reproducing itself in your external world again and again. If struggle feels natural, life keeps giving you reasons to struggle. If rejection feels natural, you continue encountering situations that reflect rejection. If lack feels normal, abundance feels distant, no matter how hard you try to think positively. The subconscious mind always returns to what feels most familiar, because familiarity creates identity. This is why temporary motivation rarely changes anything permanently. A person may feel inspired for one day and speak positively about their future, but if deep down success still feels unnatural to them, they eventually return to old patterns. The outer world simply mirrors the dominant inner state they are most comfortable identifying with. Naturalness is powerful because it removes inner resistance. When something feels unnatural, the mind fights it. You may repeat affirmations about wealth all day long, but if wealth secretly feels impossible to you, there will always be tension underneath your words. You will force yourself to believe while inwardly doubting every sentence. That inner conflict slows everything down. But when a new reality begins to feel natural, the struggle disappears. You stop trying to convince yourself. You stop wondering whether it will happen. Instead, the feeling becomes automatic. It starts feeling emotionally normal to think of yourself differently. This is the shift that changes reality. Imagine someone learning to wear a new identity. At first, it feels unfamiliar. A shy person practicing confidence may feel awkward in the beginning. A person used to lack may feel uncomfortable imagining abundance. A person who has experienced heartbreak may initially resist the feeling of being deeply loved. Why? Because the new state has not yet become natural. But repetition changes familiarity. The more you return to the new state internally, the more normal it begins to feel. Eventually, the mind stops rejecting it. The emotional resistance fades. What once felt impossible starts feeling ordinary. And the moment it becomes ordinary within you, your outer life begins changing to match it. Many people delay their desires because they keep treating them like miracles instead of realities. They place their dreams high above themselves emotionally. They become overly excited, obsessed, and desperate because the desire still feels rare in their consciousness. But the moment the desire feels natural, desperation disappears. Think about breathing. You do not force yourself to breathe because it feels natural. You do not panic wondering if the next breath will come. There is complete trust because it feels normal to you. In the same way, manifestation becomes effortless when your desired reality feels psychologically natural instead of emotionally distant. This is why calmness is such a powerful sign. When something feels natural, there is peace around it. You stop searching for signs every hour. You stop reacting emotionally to delays. You stop asking whether you are doing everything correctly. There is a quiet knowingness that replaces anxiety. A person who truly believes in their desired reality does not need constant reassurance. They do not wake up every morning terrified that nothing is happening. Their inner state already feels settled. The problem is that many people mistake emotional excitement for faith. They think manifestation should feel dramatic all the time. But real transformation is often quiet. It feels like inner acceptance. It feels like stability. It feels like mentally arriving somewhere before the physical world catches up. Your subconscious mind accepts what feels natural, not what feels forced. This means the goal is not to endlessly want something. Wanting often keeps the desire separated from you. The goal is to internally become the person who already experiences it as part of normal life. If love is your desire, stop seeing love as rare. Let it feel expected. If success is your desire, stop acting as though success belongs only to special people. Let it feel natural to identify as successful. If abundance is your desire, stop emotionally worshipping money and begin normalizing prosperity within your self-image. This does not happen overnight for most people. It happens through repeated inner acceptance. Every time you imagine the fulfilled desire, every time you think from the new identity instead of toward it, you strengthen the feeling of naturalness. Eventually, the new state stops feeling fake. It begins feeling like you. And once the subconscious mind accepts something as natural, the outer world begins reflecting that acceptance in ways that often feel effortless and surprising. The secret was never forcing reality to change. The secret was changing what feels normal within you. Because your life always moves in the direction of your most natural assumptions. And when fulfillment finally feels natural, reality has no choice but to follow. One of the greatest traps people fall into during inner transformation is becoming addicted to emotional highs. They believe they must constantly feel inspired, excited, motivated, or emotionally elevated in order to create the life they want. They chase powerful feelings because those moments temporarily make them feel close to their desires. But emotional highs are not the foundation of lasting change. In many cases, they actually keep people stuck in cycles of hope and disappointment. The problem with emotional highs is that they are temporary by nature. No human being can stay emotionally intense every hour of the day. Feelings rise and fall naturally. But many people panic the moment the excitement fades. They assume they are losing belief, losing alignment, or moving away from their desire simply because the emotional intensity is gone. What they fail to understand is that real inner transformation is not built on emotional excitement. It is built on identity. A person who truly knows who they are does not need to emotionally convince themselves every day. They do not need constant motivational energy to feel secure. Their state becomes stable because it feels natural. This is why calm certainty is far more powerful than temporary emotional excitement. Think about someone who has just discovered a new dream or desire. In the beginning, they often feel overwhelmed with excitement. They imagine endless possibilities and feel emotionally energized about the future. But after a few days, fear starts appearing. Doubt enters the mind. They begin checking the outer world for signs that something is happening. If results do not appear immediately, the emotional high crashes into disappointment. This emotional roller coaster happens because the person is depending on feelings instead of inner conviction. They are using excitement as proof instead of building a stable self concept. The truth is, excitement can sometimes reveal separation. When you become overly emotional about something, you unconsciously place it above yourself. You react to it as though it is extraordinary, difficult, or far away. You may say, "I'm so excited this could happen." But hidden inside those words is uncertainty. The desire still feels external to you. But when something truly feels yours, your emotional reaction changes completely. There is peace instead of desperation. There is confidence instead of obsession. There is steadiness instead of emotional chaos. Imagine a wealthy person checking their bank account every 5 minutes, screaming with excitement because money exists. That would seem strange because wealth feels natural to them. Or imagine someone in a loving relationship panicking every hour, wondering if love is still real. Healthy possession creates emotional stability. The same principle applies to every area of life. What belongs to you internally no longer creates emotional extremes. This is why chasing emotional highs can become dangerous. People start believing they need constant stimulation in order to stay aligned. They listen to endless motivational content, force exaggerated positive emotions, and depend on temporary inspiration to feel secure. But the moment the stimulation disappears, their fear returns because the deeper identity never changed. Real transformation happens when the new state becomes emotionally normal. This is much quieter than people expect. It often feels almost ordinary. Instead of emotional fireworks, there is inner calmness. Instead of desperation, there is quiet certainty. Instead of obsessively chasing proof, there is relaxed expectation. A calm mind manifests faster because calmness implies trust. When you trust something internally, you stop fighting for it emotionally. You stop forcing reality every second. You stop reacting dramatically to delays because your identity is no longer controlled by appearances. Many people delay their desires because they keep emotionally reminding themselves that the desire is missing. Every time they desperately search for signs, they reinforce the feeling of not having it. Every time they force excitement, they unconsciously admit that the desire still feels outside of them. The goal is not emotional intensity. The goal is inner stability. This does not mean becoming emotionless. It means no longer depending on emotional highs as evidence that your future is real. Your belief must become deeper than your temporary moods. Some days you may feel inspired. Other days you may feel quiet. But neither emotional state changes who you are internally unless you allow it to. The strongest belief is often the calmest one. Think of a mountain standing still during a storm. The storm may move wildly around it, but the mountain remains rooted. In the same way, your inner identity must become stable enough that temporary emotions no longer control your faith. You are not trying to create a few moments of motivation. You are building a new concept of self, and self concept is formed through repetition, familiarity, and acceptance, not emotional highs. The moment you stop depending on emotional intensity, manifestation becomes easier. You stop exhausting yourself mentally. You stop forcing happiness. You stop treating your desire like something fragile that disappears whenever your mood changes. Instead, you begin living with quiet inner confidence. You understand that your reality is not shaped by one emotional moment, but by the state you consistently return to. And when that state becomes natural, peaceful, and stable, the outer world begins reflecting it effortlessly. So stop chasing emotional highs. Because the life you desire will not come from temporary excitement. It will come from becoming inwardly certain of who you already are. One of the biggest reasons people remain stuck is because they continue living toward their desires instead of living from them. They constantly think about what they want, hope for what they want, and chase what they want. But mentally, they still identify as the person who does not have it. And as long as the mind continues operating from lack, the outer world keeps reflecting that same experience back. There is a major difference between wanting something and inwardly possessing it. When you live towards something, your entire mindset is focused on the future. You keep saying things like, one day I'll be successful, soon I'll be loved, or I hope things change for me. Even though those thoughts may sound positive, they still place fulfillment somewhere ahead of you. The desire remains distant. It remains separate from your identity. But when you live from the end, something completely changes internally. You stop emotionally chasing the future because you begin identifying with the version of yourself who already has the desire fulfilled. Instead of waiting to become confident, you think from confidence now. Instead of waiting to feel chosen, you begin feeling valued now. Instead of hoping abundance will arrive someday, you start inwardly accepting abundance as part of your identity today. This shift may seem small, but it changes everything. The outer world is always responding to the state you occupy internally, not the state you occasionally visit during visualization, but the state you consistently live from emotionally and mentally throughout the day. If your dominant inner conversation is still rooted in longing, fear, and waiting, then you continue reproducing those experiences outwardly. Living from the end means mentally arriving before the physical evidence appears. This does not mean pretending or denying reality emotionally. It means changing your internal position. It means asking yourself a powerful question. If my desire were already fulfilled, how would I think, feel, and see myself differently? That question shifts your awareness away from chasing and into embodiment. Most people unknowingly keep reaffirming the absence of what they want. They wake up checking circumstances for proof that something has changed. They become emotionally affected by delays, setbacks, or appearances because they still believe the outer world has power over their identity. But the person who lives from the end understands something deeper. They understand that reality follows consciousness, not the other way around. Imagine a person who desires success but constantly thinks, I'm not there yet. That thought alone keeps them psychologically connected to lack. Even if they work hard or repeat affirmations, their dominant identity remains incomplete. But a person living from the end begins thinking differently. They carry themselves inwardly as someone capable, valuable, and successful now. Their outer world may still be catching up, but internally the shift has already happened. This is why living from the end creates emotional stability. When you stop waiting for reality to give you permission to feel fulfilled, you reclaim your power. You no longer depend entirely on circumstances to define your inner state. Instead, your inner state begins defining your circumstances. This is not about forcing fake positivity. It is about accepting a new identity internally until it becomes natural. Many people struggle because they keep trying to get their desires instead of becoming the person who naturally experiences them. They approach manifestation from a place of effort and struggle. But the truth is, your outer world changes most easily when your inner identity changes first. A person who lives from the end does not obsess over time. They do not panic when results seem delayed because inwardly they already moved into possession mentally. There is calmness in their state because they are no longer emotionally begging reality for validation. Think about ordering something online that you know has already been shipped. You may not physically hold it yet, but internally you already consider it yours. You do not spend every hour doubting whether it exists. There is relaxed expectation because the decision has already been made. Living from the end carries that same energy of certainty. The mind must become familiar with fulfillment before fulfillment consistently appears outwardly. This is why imagination is powerful. When you repeatedly think from the fulfilled state, you slowly train the subconscious mind to accept it as natural. At first, it may feel unfamiliar because the old identity still feels stronger. But with repetition, the new state begins replacing the old one. Eventually, you stop reacting to life as the old version of yourself. You stop thinking like the person who lacks love. You stop speaking like the person trapped in limitation. You stop emotionally identifying with fear and failure. Instead, a new inner self emerges naturally. And once identity changes, reality begins reorganizing itself around that new concept of self. This is why you must stop living toward happiness, toward success, toward abundance, or toward love. The constant feeling of trying to get there only reinforces separation. The future never arrives for the person who always places fulfillment ahead of themselves. You must mentally enter the state now. Feel the relief now. Accept the identity now. Think from the end now. Because the outer world does not create your inner state. Your inner state creates the experience you eventually meet in the outer world. And the moment you stop chasing fulfillment and start living from it internally, life begins moving differently around you. Many people believe that manifestation should feel dramatic. They think there must be constant excitement, emotional intensity, signs, movement, or overwhelming certainty every single day in order for something to become real. But the deeper truth is much quieter than that. One of the greatest signs that your inner transformation is complete is not emotional excitement. It is peace. Peace is the feeling that arrives when resistance disappears. When you are still struggling internally, the mind constantly searches for proof. It asks endless questions. Is it working? When will it happen? What if nothing changes? Am I doing this correctly? These thoughts create emotional tension because the desire still feels uncertain. It still feels separate from you. But the moment something becomes accepted internally, the need to fight mentally begins fading away. That is where peace appears. Peace does not mean giving up on your desire. It means you no longer feel emotionally desperate about it. You stop forcing reality every second because inwardly you already moved into a new state of being. There is a quiet confidence that replaces anxiety. Think about the things you fully trust in your life right now. You do not spend every day panicking over whether the sun will rise tomorrow. You do not obsessively question whether your name still belongs to you. Why? Because those things feel settled within your mind. There is no inner conflict around them. The same principle applies to manifestation. When your desired reality begins feeling internally settled, emotional chaos fades. You stop reacting so strongly to appearances because your identity is no longer controlled by temporary circumstances. Instead of emotional highs and crashes, there is steadiness, there is calm expectation, there is inner knowing. This is why peace is one of the most powerful states you can enter. A desperate mind pushes desires away because desperation constantly reinforces the feeling of not having. Every time a person anxiously checks for signs, they unconsciously affirm absence. Every time they emotionally panic about timing, they strengthen the belief that fulfillment is still far away. But peace sends a completely different message to the subconscious mind. Peace says, it is already settled within me. And whatever feels settled internally eventually expresses itself externally. Many people delay their desires because they are emotionally addicted to struggle. They have spent so much time fighting circumstances, doubting themselves, and chasing reassurance that peace feels unfamiliar. They mistakenly believe that if they are not emotionally intense, but true belief rarely feels frantic. True belief feels stable. Imagine planting a seed in the ground. Once planted, there is no need to dig it up every hour searching for proof of growth. The person trusts the process because they understand the seed already contains life. Manifestation works the same way. Once the new state is accepted internally, constant emotional interference only creates resistance. Peace is trust in action. It is the ability to remain inwardly secure even before physical evidence fully appears. It is emotional maturity within consciousness. Instead of reacting to every delay with fear, you remain grounded in your inner assumption. This does not mean you never experience human emotions. It simply means your identity is no longer controlled by temporary moods or appearances. Fear may arise for a moment, but it no longer defines you. Doubt may appear briefly, but you do not live there anymore. Your deeper state remains calm because you already accepted the new reality internally. The powerful thing about peace is that it changes how you move through life. You stop chasing, you stop begging, you stop trying to force outcomes. Instead, your energy becomes relaxed and magnetic because there is no inner pressure anymore. People often think manifestation is about getting something from the outside world. But the real transformation happens within consciousness first. The outer world is simply reflecting the state you consistently occupy. And the state of peace is powerful because it implies completion. A person at peace no longer feels incomplete. They no longer feel emotionally starved for validation. They no longer need endless signs to feel secure. They already accepted the feeling of fulfillment within themselves. This is why the most powerful manifestations often occur after people finally let go of desperation. The moment they stop forcing, something shifts. Not because they stopped caring, but because they stopped resisting. Their inner world relaxed into certainty. Peace is not passivity. It is confidence without tension. It is the feeling of knowing without needing constant proof. When your desire feels done internally, your relationship with reality changes completely. You stop viewing life through the eyes of fear and lack. You stop emotionally worshipping the future. Instead, you begin resting inwardly in the assumption that what you desire already belongs to you. And from that state, reality begins reorganizing itself naturally. So if you want to know whether your inner state is changing, do not ask whether you feel endlessly excited. Ask yourself something deeper. Am I becoming more peaceful about this? Because peace is often the clearest sign that the inner work is complete. It is the silent feeling of already being the person you once hoped to become. And once that peace becomes natural, the outer world eventually mirrors it back in ways that feel effortless, steady, and real. Your future does not appear because you force it. It appears because you become aligned with it internally. The greatest shift happens when you stop chasing feelings and start accepting a new identity. When the desire no longer feels impossible, no longer feels rare, no longer feels separate from you, that is the moment reality begins to move. You do not need to convince the world. You only need to stop convincing yourself that what you want is far away. Let the desire become natural. Let success feel ordinary. Let love feel expected. Let abundance feel normal. Because the moment your inner world accepts something as familiar, life begins reflecting it back to you effortlessly. Stay calm, stay faithful, stay inwardly certain, and remember, the most powerful people are not the ones who constantly react emotionally to their dreams. They are the ones who quietly know their dreams are already theirs. Thank you for listening and spending this time with me today. If this message spoke to you, take a moment to truly reflect on it, not just intellectually, but inwardly. Start practicing the feeling of naturalness in your daily life and watch how your reality begins to change. And if you enjoyed this speech, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful content on mindset, consciousness, manifestation, and inner transformation. Until next time, stay calm, stay aware, and remember, you already become what you consistently feel yourself to be.